Market Harborough is a small market town in the East Midlands going back to Saxon times. In 1204, King John allowed a market to be held outside the settlements of Arden, Great Bowden and Little Bowden. Market Harborough grew quickly through trade and agriculture. The town has a rich history and many historical buildings which are now Grade 2 listed. St Dionysius Church was built around 1300 and extended in 1420. The Three Swans Inn was built in 1517 and became a regular stopover for coaches from London to the north of England. The old grammar school was built in 1614. The Symington's corset factory is now home to the council offices, a public library and the Harbour Museum. Symington's became famous during the war for the manufacture of thousands of parachutes for the Royal Air Force. Market Harborough was the hometown of Thomas Cook, who organised the first ever packaged holidays by rail. In the year of the second millennium, an extraordinary tapestry was unveiled in the Market Harborough Library at the council offices. This exciting project was initiated by the Market Harborough University of the Third Age, and its creation took 3 years. This is the story of the Millenium Tapestry, told by the 4 ladies who designed the tapestry and managed the project. They were Angela Newport, Sheila Pendred, Anne Allen and Marjorie Clements.
In 1980, I looked in the Harbour Mail and I saw the account of a meeting of the first U3A to open in Market Harborough. The following month, when they had the second meeting, I was there and I joined.
I came from the south, joined U3A quickly because I thought, oh, there's a nice organisation, but there's lots of local people in it. Loved Harborough from the start, found it very interesting. A gentleman called Cyril Pigott joined about 6 months after me. He came from Hampshire, and down there they had done a series of tapestries, not for the millennium, but the county they lived in. He was very keen, what are we going to do, U3A at the time, for the millennium. Now it was about 4 years off then. It gave us plenty of time to think of something.
In 1997 there was an air of excitement happening in Market Harborough about the millennium coming and whether there was going to be anything special happening, whether there'd be street parties or our U3A doing anything special. We were asked at general meetings to give suggestions. 2 members came forward with a brilliant idea of a tapestry. They were Anne Allen and Cyril Pigott. It was like a vision that they described. They would like to tell the story of Market Harborough, our great town, in pictures on a tapestry. Well, this was put to the general meeting. It got a good response. There were over 30 members who volunteered to help. Mostly ladies wanting to do the sewing. I'm not a sewer, but I was excited by the whole thing and thought that I might be able to help with something. First of all, we had to have subject matter. John Pendred headed a team of photographers. They went around the town taking countless photographs of interesting points of our town. 400 they did, I believe. And then a suggestion box was put at meetings. Everybody was asked to give thoughts, feelings, ideas, anything really to help with this to go forward. Sheila came in with a colourful picture of the carnival. She said it had taken some time. They could do with some more designers. So I willingly volunteered along with Anne Allen and Angela Newport. 4 of us, Sheila and myself and Angela and Anne. There was lots of technical stuff to be discussed. I hadn't quite realised how much background stuff was needed. I wasn't on the technical side. Things like wall thicknesses, colours, shades, all had to complement each other so that there'd be no jarring when you viewed the tapestry. Frames had to be made, of course, for each panel that was done, and lovely gentleman Arthur Jones made lots of these. And the first 10 were delivered in November 97, so the ladies could get properly started. Angela's hubby Frank helped massively.
The other thing we needed was some kind of steering group. I got 10 names for the steering group, and that varied throughout the whole of the tapestry time for 3.5 years. There were different people, there were always some constants. People were asked what they'd like to put in it. There were about 47 people actually signed to make it.
The men folk came in at the beginning with the photographs. My husband and one or two other people who were also U3A members belonging to photographic clubs. I think they thoroughly enjoyed it, especially, I was told, when they did the high street, because they had to go inside the pubs, they said, to see how it looked from out. I think they got a bit merry once or twice, but that was all part of it.
The canal came to Harborough in 1809, which meant that Harborough town was then connected to a network of waterways. And of course more goods could come into the town on barges, all drawn by horses in those days. In the top left of the tapestry is the panel of the basin. In the panel is a big timber yard. There used to be lots of wood coming into Harborough in those days, mahogany and oak, even coffin boards, and of course goods of all kinds, coal, wool, textiles, that sort of thing. Well, it was a transport revolution really, which changed the whole of the country, and much of the wealth of Harborough came through the basin in those days. Then suddenly in 1997 there was a huge change. The boat building, which was quite famous, was demolished, along with the timber sheds, all belonging to Treneries, which when I came to Harborough that was quite a popular name. The bottom right of the panel shows an artist's impression of what it would be looking like in a few years' time, and that was modern apartments. The water area had been increased, even mooring posts in the water outside these apartments. Was the Millennium going to bring about a renaissance? Well, it did really, because there was a massive amount of leisure and recreation started to happen, and certainly is happening now. The government seemed to become more interested. They became interested in tradition and the history, and of course urban regeneration was great. So lots of us were worried as to what the basin would be, all the heritage gone, but in fact I think they did it very, very well. And again, all in our lifetime, we are actually part of the history of this, which when you look back, seems exciting and amazing. I did some of the churches, St Dionysius and St Mary in Arden. St Di's is probably the most impressive building in Harborough, with its stately spire and so on. It was known as the church without a churchyard, which is quite rare in medieval times. That comes about because of the history with Great Bowden and the now ruined St Mary in Arden. Great Bowden was the mother church of St Di's and St Mary's in Arden, which were chapels in those days. And then our dear St Nicholas and St Hugh. St Nicholas was typical of a village church. Schools, of course, were important. When the tapestry was done, there were 8 schools in the town. I kept it really very simple. I was going to do little drawings of the schools, and then it seemed more important to be getting the crests and badges really carefully right. Robert Smythe, of course, reminded me that their crest was the City of London, and so they needed the name of Robert Smythe underneath. But
we had a meeting every now and again to see how we were getting on and if anybody had problems. Each little picture was done by a different person. And then when those little bits of tapestry were finished, they went into a box, and that's how it built up. Then a whole bedroom was emptied so that the floor was free, and then they crawled about on the floor and put the little pictures all in different positions until they'd got what they thought was for the finished thing. There was a lot of input, a lot of arguments. We had a lot of meetings to have a jolly good argument, but we realised that we couldn't get everything in, so we decided to show all the different aspects of Harborough as well as the buildings. Our husbands were pulled in to make frames. We would go and fetch wool doing another bit. I even taught my husband into doing a bit, since he used to sit and watch. He did the H in Harborough on the bottom right-hand side.
we come to the Harborough Mail, which is our weekly local newspaper, and in 1890 it cost a penny. I think ours is now £1.40. Colour was introduced in 1996, and of course dear Harby, the newshound, was born in 1995. The Millenium Mail was produced the year before the millennium to give people an idea of the sort of things that was going to be happening in the town. The Mail exceeded 12,000 in 2000. And last but not least is our Harborough Band, with good old Mark Stamp behind us as the president. I went along to a couple of the rehearsals. That was good. They told me about the instruments, 25 brass and 3 percussion. I always thought brass bands had trumpets, but in fact they're cornets, which you might know.
After we'd finished with it, it went to the experts to put it together, and it was professionally treated. It went to be framed to a company in Leicester.
2 of our members really have to be congratulated with the whole thing, and that was Anne Allen and Angela Newport, who really carried the whole tapestry through those 3 years, coordinating, encouraging, helping where necessary. This tapestry is an amazing piece of Harborough's history. I was privileged in doing just a small part, a small cog in a big wheel, responsible for 10 of the panels, and on the steering group. It's now housed in the council offices, and we were there as part of the history, and it was great.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I will say. It's my pleasure as Chairman of Harbour District Council to welcome you to this very special occasion and to lead you on to one of our most distinguished guests, the Chairman of the County Council, John Howard. I will lighten the evening just a little bit by saying I'm not really talking to him, because we had the pleasure earlier today of escorting the Duke of Kent around. And I thought, as the representative of Harbour, I would dress correctly, and my wife said, "You're not going to put those stripes and morning suit on again." And I said, "Yes, I'm doing the job properly." I said, "John will have his on, so I'm definitely going to do it." And my wife bet me a fiver that John wouldn't. So John has cost me a fiver. I don't really know whether we're really good friends or not, but it does give me very great pleasure on this very special occasion to introduce you to Councillor John Howard, Chairman of the County Council.
Thank you, Roy. Well, it's a great pleasure to be here this evening. I've been in this library, I think, 4 or 5 times since I became chairman in May. I think on my first visit I had my photograph taken with a group of toddlers down in that corner on the launch of a book start, and then I came to assist in the opening of your museum at the back. And as Roy says, I was in Market Harbour this morning with him and with the Duke of Kent, which was very pleasant. And also I actually was available for the sod cutting ceremony of your new school that's being built on the outskirts. And I was there again after a short while when the builders actually gave the school a Millenium keystone to put into the gable end of the building, which I also got involved with. And I understand that school in point of fact is due to open in January. So with a bit of luck I shall be there for the opening of the school too. So Market Harbour has almost become a second home for the rebels from Burbage, which is sort of the other side of the county, as you probably know. I've heard a lot about this tapestry. The County Council is honoured to be able to provide a home for it, and long may it stay here and be of interest to the people in Harborough. And I understand that we have somebody here who knows an awful lot about it in the namesake of a Mr. Cyril Piggott, who I believe is a member of the Market Harbour University of the Third Age, is how he describes himself, and a member of the original Tapestry Steering Group. And I understand Mr. Piggott will now tell us a little bit more about the tapestry. So over to you, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman, distinguished visitors, ladies and gentlemen, this is, as I'm sure you'll all agree, a very great occasion. It's no exaggeration to say that it is an historic event for the U3A certainly, for Harborough and for the district. The U3A Millenium Tapestry, and I've lost count of the number of times I have written that over the past 3.5 years, but the U3A Millenium Tapestry is an incredible project, a community project by the members of the U3A. It is an amazing enterprise. Thousands of hours have gone into it. Hours of careful, skillful, loving work. And shortly, you'll be able to see the fruits of that work. By if you have bought the booklet or the postcard, and if you haven't, I'm sure you will know that it measures 9 feet 6 by 5 feet 6 approximately. 9 feet 6 is 114 inches, and there are 14 holes to the inch, and the Carol ornaments amongst you have already worked out how many holes there are along the top. For those who haven't, it's 1,596. It is 5 feet 6 down, that's 66. Multiply that by 14, and you come up with, I'm not a Carol ornament, 924. Now, if you multiply 1,596, you will get the number of holes in the tapestry. Have we a guesstimate? No. Who said that? 1.5 million. Someone said 1.5 million. If you work it out, and this is a fascinating little statistic for the press, it comes to 1,474,704. Now, having lived with a bit of the tapestry and having heard many of the other embroiderers, and one in particular who's looking at me at this moment, I know that many stitches have gone into the tapestry, only to come out, in and out. So I'm suggesting that in this incredible tapestry, there are about 1.5 million loving stitches. 20 of them by myself. I invite you to look at the cross on the old grammar school and marvel at the expertise, the tension, the position, they're in the right home. So to Anne, Alan and Angela Newport, we're always in their debt, we shall always be in their debt. How can we repay them? It's impossible, but one little token is something which I'm now going to ask Angela's husband.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Piggott.
I'm Cyril.
Cyril, to most of us, I must admit. I'm sorry that our chairman of U3A is poorly at the moment, and I'm vice chairman, so I'm taking her place. I hope she soon recovers. I have the honour and the prestige, if you like, to present these pictures to Anne.
Thank you very much. He hasn't got his glasses
I'm afraid that's typical, not having my glasses on. I get into a lot of trouble for that.
on. Which is your wife? I'm not a kid.
I can reiterate what Cyril said, that our house has been a haven for friendship, heartache, love, kindness, and in the end, conclusion. And we were so pleased to see it go out the door.
Thank you all very much indeed.
My final duty is to invite these two wonderful people to unveil the taps.
Good job we're tall, isn't it? 1, 2, 3. We do have one further little duty, pleasant duty to perform. In the summer, the U3A put on a week, well, 3 days out of 1 week, to show the town what U3A was about, and it was part of the Millennium Celebration, as of course this is part of the Millennium Celebration. And during that time, we worked on the tapestry upstairs with many of our groups as well, taking part both in the old school and underneath, although they were 3 very cold days. But some people braved it, including the lace makers. They sat there in all the cold doing their lace. But the idea was to show the town what U3A meant and what it gives to the town, and illustrate some of our activities. So we thought, well, we can't invite the public to actually put stitches into the tapestry. So we hit on the idea of making some piece of needlework that people could put stitches in, and we came up with the idea of making a Millennium kneeler. So this was designed, and it was on show for the 3 days, and I think something like nearly 300 people? Yes. Nearly 300 people
Different
put
parts of the world
stitches
as well.
in it, yes, from overseas as well, and they all signed their names on paper, and these sheets of paper are actually sewn into the kneeler. So one day, if somebody opens it up, there'll be all these sheets of paper with all these signatures on. So Anne went and asked Chris Moody if he'd be willing to house the Millennium kneeler for us, and he said he would. So I would now like to show you what the final outcome of it was. We designed it with the flame, because we were all given candles to light on New Year's Eve, and we chose the flame, the light of the world, lighting up the front with the for the Millennium, and round it says U3A Millennium Week July 2000. Wonderful. So we have a permanent record of the U3A Market Harborough and our association with the Millennium celebrations. So if Mr. Moody would like to come forward.
Thank you very much.
I shall have to think very carefully where I put this in the church. I would like to reserve it for my own use in the bishop. But I'll explain to everybody through the magazine, actually, because we've got the publication date is this weekend. I shall make sure that they know the detail about it. It's lovely to think of all the names from all over the world that are in there, as well as in the stitching of it. I'm very pleased too that it remembers the Millennium Candle. I did try to persuade the U3A to join in the mystery plays, but now looking at that I can understand why you were all so busy. So I'm delighted to have this. Thank you very much for the church, and we will be good stewards of it for posterity. So thank you very much indeed.